Hi guys, welcome to Dinner Guide. I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. Today we're going to be making a spicy tomato and sausage rice. So we're going to be using some sausages. You don't only have to eat your sausages for breakfast, we're going to be using them in our dinner meal today as well. We're going to be making some tomato rice. The spiciness, I'm going to be putting in a bit of some chili pepper as well as some ginger. So you're going to get that ginger in your throat, trust me. So for the ingredients, we're going to be using some sausages and the tomatoes. I'm using two types of tomatoes here, fresh tomatoes as well as the canned tomatoes. I like canned tomatoes just because they come with more juice, but you can just use the fresh tomatoes. Then I'm using colored capsicums, and I'm using one of my favorite rice, the Royal Umbrella rice, as well as some cucumber, ginger, garlic. And then for the spices here, we're going to be using some salt, some black pepper, some tomato paste, as well as some cumin, some sugar. The sugar is just to balance out in case I feel like the tomatoes are too tart. And then I'm going to be using some chili, of course, and some paprika, a bit of butter, and some bay leaf and onion, and the herbs. Today I'll be using some parsley mixed in with some dhania. Okay, so to get started, what I like to do is we're going to be chopping some of the vegetables. I'm going to divide this into two. So some of those I'm going to chop them and then we're going to blend them. But we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we're going to get right into it. So see you after the break. Hi guys, welcome to Dinner Guide. I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. Today we're actually making a spicy tomato and sausage rice. So it's going to be nice and decadent and rich because of the sausages and the tomato, and the spice is going to give it a little bit of a kick. So to get started, I just want to start off by frying my sausages. So for the sausages, what I'm going to do is just heat my stove, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on my pan, and then we're going to just fry our sausages. Now for the sausages, you can go right ahead and fry this directly into the pan with everything else, but I just like to give my sausages a bit of a brown color, so that's why I'm heating the pan beforehand and frying my sausages just a little bit in advance. So a bit of olive oil or sunflower oil, whichever oil you have, is absolutely fine. So you're going to add in your sausages. Don't worry if some of the skin is out. Then just reduce your heat a little bit. And then for the vegetables that we're going to be using today in our tomato, our spicy tomato rice, we're going to be using, of course, tomatoes. The tomatoes have to be there, as well as some capsicums. Now the capsicums, I'm going to slice this into half so that I have some that are a bit chunky and some that are going to go blended. Now the reason I blend this is just to give my rice a bit more of some flavor. And the reason for this is because once you blend the capsicums and the onions, the ginger, the garlic, the flavor is so much stronger. It's intense. So that's the main reason why I'm actually going to be blending this. So I'm just going to chop this roughly because they're going to go into my blender. So it doesn't really matter the size because they're going to pulverize anyway. Just give this a stir. My heat is a bit too high, so I'm just going to lower this. Remember, all I want is just to brown my sausages, so they don't really have to cook all the way because they're going to cook anyway with the stew, with the rice and everything else that's going in it. So like I've mentioned, the reason that I'm adding my peppers and the reason that I'm dividing them is just so that my rice can have a stronger flavor, and that is going to come right through. And then we're going to use our onion here as well. And all this, I'm going to blend all this, so the flavor is going to be really, really, really strong, intensified. And you're going to taste all the sweetness from the different capsicums, the garlic. And it's just a good way for you to try out different flavors because they all blend into one and merge together. So we're going to get a bit of some garlic. Now, you know I love garlic. If you're not too big on garlic, then use less, of course, or don't use any. I'm just bashing this so that I can take off the skin. And then we're going to just peel off because like I said, once you bash with the knife or if you use your hand to bash, it's really easy to take off the skin. It comes right off. And for this, again, you don't really need to chop it because it's going to go into the blender. Give your sausages a stir here. Let me just get my fork to just turn some of them. Ooh, they're browning a bit too fast. But not to worry, since they're going to go into my stew like I mentioned, I'll be chopping this up anyway. So I'm going to add a bit of oil because I can see they've kind of like sucked up all the oil in there. So just add a bit of oil. And then for this, get your blender ready. And we're just going to add in the vegetables that we have been chopping. So here I have some capsicums like I've mentioned, as well as some onions, some garlic. I'm going to add some ginger. And all this is going to be blended. So you know the flavors are going to be really, really good. Then we're going to add some ginger. Now I like ginger, so I'm adding the whole of it. So again, the flavors here are going to be a bit spicy. Now ginger, for those of you who might not be familiar, actually gives whatever food you're cooking a nice kind of like spice to it. And usually you feel it right through your throat, which is why it's advised to have it, especially when you're having like a cold. I'm going to put off my heat here, just because like I said, all I want to do was just brown my sausages. I'm not going to cook them all the way through because I'm going to cook them in the stew with the rice. So once you've removed the skin, all we're going to do now is just peel. Once you've already peeled, we're just going to go ahead and just chop. So just give this a good chop. Again, it doesn't have to be fine because we're going to blend everything up. And then I mentioned here I'm using two types of tomatoes, fresh and canned tomatoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ones that are fresh in here so they can all blend together. And then for the fresh ones, I'm going to cook this down in the pan later on, just in a few minutes. And I'm going to add the remaining onion here as well. So that's all that I'm going to be frying is just the capsicums, just because I want to see some capsicums in my rice dish. I don't want everything to be all blended. That's why I divided. But if you want everything all blended, you can definitely go ahead and just blend everything. And again, like I mentioned, by blending everything up, it combines really well. And your cooking time is a bit shorter because now I don't have to wait for any onions to brown or to caramelize. That step is completely over and done with. So I'm going to add a bit of liquid here, just to get my blender started. It's always advised anytime you're cooking to just have a little bit of liquid inside your blender, just so that you can help it along with the process, because as strong as it is, it still does need a little bit of help. So we're just going to go ahead and add a bit of water. And again, remember the water that I've added here is still going to count into my rice, so it's all good. And then what I also like to do, usually you can add the paprika aside, but I like to go ahead and just, again, like I said, because I want all my flavors to come together into one, I like to add a good amount of paprika in here, as well as some heat, because it is a spicy tomato rice dish. So that's some chili, and I've added some paprika. So I'm just going to now cover this, and then now we're going to go ahead and blend it. So just cover it and then blend. And already you can see the color has changed. It's got this beautiful, nice hue red color. Now this by itself can actually work as a really, really nice marinade. I sometimes like to marinate my chicken in this mixture. So I'm just going to go ahead now and taste it. So this is a really nice, it could also work as a peri-peri marinade as well actually, because of the capsicums and the peppers and the chili. Woo! Trust me, I can taste the chili in this, and it's quite a kick, a serious kick. And the capsicums, like I've mentioned, the sweetness and the pepperiness comes right through. You can actually taste it. But like I said, this is a spicy dish and you want all those flavors in there. If you don't want all those flavors in there, then just minimize on the chili. And the ginger, I can actually now taste the ginger right down my throat, just from that little taste. So I'm adding a bit of olive oil here. So I'm going to be using some olive oil as well as a bit of some butter. Again, just to give my rice more flavor and depth. That's all cooking is about. Always finding new ways to add flavor, depth into your food makes all the difference, trust me. So put on your heat. Reduce it if it's too high. Always keep an eye. Okay, there we are. Oh, I went too low. Okay, there we are. So we're just going to let that melt. And then we're going to go ahead now and add this mixture in there. So like I said, because I'm going to be adding some peppers, I'm going to go ahead and chop this as I wait for my oil to now melt, my butter to now melt, and for the oil to heat up. And again, the reason that I'm adding my peppers right now is just because I wanted to have a bit of a difference, so that there's a bit of some bite and texture in my rice. So which is why I left some peppers out. But I said you could blend all of them if you wanted to. Okay, there we go. So I've chopped my peppers. And what we're going to do is just add all this in here. So those are going to saute really well and nicely. And then we're going to give this a nice stir. So this is a really nice way to prepare your food. For the sauce that I've made here, you could actually, like I said, use it as a marinade. It works really well as a peri-peri marinade. And then you could also use it in a stew as well. If you could make a chicken dish out of it and use it as the sauce. So for today, we're making it in our rice. That's what we're going to be using. And if you're just joining us, today we're making a spicy tomato and sausage rice. And all that is just the combination of the flavors that I put all together. So in there, I'm going to add my sauce now so that the sauce can start to gently bubble. And so that all the flavors can release in the oil. So that's the reason I'm going to be adding this there. But first, I'm going to add the remaining spices that I haven't added, just so that they can have some time to toss up. So I'm going to add some cumin. Remember, I didn't add any cumin in there. Like I said, I wanted to add my spices blended, just so that they're all very well rounded in the first step. And of course, I'm going to add a bit of black pepper. Again, more spicy. So you know my rice is going to have a bit of a kick. Like I said, it's a spicy rice. So give this a stir. Be sure not to burn your spices here that we've added, the pepper and the cumin. Ooh, I can smell that. So the cumin has had some time to just toss up gently. You could also use whole cumin if you wanted. So now I'm going to add my blended sauce. And then just stir this. So we're just going to stir that. And then again, always remember that whatever liquid you add is actually going to count into the rice. So I'm not going to be adding too much liquid for the rice. Then I'm going to give this a taste. Remember, nothing here is seasoned with salt just yet. All the spices that were in here were all natural. All the vegetables that I put in here, the onions, the capsicums, all of them, the ginger, the garlic, none of them had extra salt added. They're all the natural saltiness that you get from the vegetables. So I'll give this a taste and see what I need to add. But I'm going to wait for it to come to a boiling point, because at this rate where it is, it hasn't had the time to all come together and merge and boil. So like I said, the kick, there's still a huge kick out of that, which is actually what I'm looking for. Which is why I said if you're not like into spice, then use less, because it's going to get you coughing. Trust me, I can actually feel it down my throat, burning. So I'm going to get my sausages here, which have had some time to cool, and I'm going to slice them. Remember, we're making a spicy sausage and rice dish. So the sausages do go inside. And all I did is just brown them. If you're just tuning in, all I did is just brown them. I mentioned you could add them directly into the sauce for the rice, but I just like to brown them so that they can give a bit of a character and different taste and texture when you start stewing them, before you start stewing them. Because if you don't brown them, what will happen, they'll have more of this color and not so much of the brown color, so it will be more of a pinkish sort of pale color. So give this a stir. Always remember to keep an eye on everything you're doing in the kitchen. I can't hear that bubbling away. So I just want to finish chopping my sausages so that I can add my rice as well as my sausages. So my sausages are actually hot, but they're not all the way cooked. So we're just going to add this in there gently. Then give this another stir. So this is a really nice spicy dish that you can make if you're into spice. And it's just a different way for you to make your rice from the normal way that you're probably used to making rice at home. So it's a nice way of combining your vegetables with sausages. You could do chicken instead of sausages and make it work for you. So whatever protein you have could actually work really well in this. If you are using beef, then I would suggest to use like a soft cut of beef, or at least make sure that you've already boiled your beef in advance, just because if you use it when it's depending what type cut of beef you get. Example, if you get like a top sirloin instead of like the sirloin that's prime, then it's going to take some time for it to actually cook down, so you'd want to boil it in advance. So I'm going to add a bay leaf, and the bay leaf again is just adding more flavor to my food. And of course, some tomato paste for that red color. So at this stage, my rice is ready to go in. So I'll be adding my other chopped tomatoes. Remember, I didn't blend this just because I said I was using two types, some that were canned and some that were fresh. And the canned one, as you can see, they're already pulverized by themselves as they are, which means that they're already fine and finely chopped already. So you don't have to blend them if you don't want to, and they have already the juice, which is what I was trying to get by blending. So give this another stir. Now the bay leaf here just adds more flavor to your sausage and tomatoes. That's all it does. And it gives it this nice, beautiful kind of like earthy flavor to it. So add your tomatoes. So there's a lot of tomatoes going in this because again it is a tomato rice dish. So a lot of tomatoes is going into that. And then we're going to get now our rice. And then just make sure that you've used everything that you're planning to use with your spices. So I'm going to taste my rice now and see my sauce now and see whether I need to add my salt. Remember, I haven't added salt yet. So we're just going to stir this and then we're going to taste and see whether we need to add salt. Now you could actually have this dish as it is right now by itself, and you could mop it up with bread if you wanted to, or get some bread in there and just dip it. Yum, yum, yum. Yeah, so I'm going to add some salt right now. Again, like I said, it's a bit of a kick, and the sugar is just there just in case I need to sweeten things a little bit if it's a bit on the spicy side. So add a good amount of salt because there's no other salt in there. And then what I like to do is add a little bit of sugar just to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. So if anytime you're ever making tomatoes or tomato soup and you notice it's a bit acidic, meaning it's a bit sharp on the tongue, all you have to do is just add a bit of sugar. That will actually balance out the sauce for you. So we're going to give this a stir, and then now we're going to add our rice and simmer. So this dish doesn't require much. Once you know whatever is going in there, you can actually, like I said earlier, blend everything all together and skip my process of having chopped my capsicums and just add the sauce right directly, and then add all your other remaining items, which will be the sausages and of course now the rice. So again, give this a taste. Yeah, so now I can definitely taste the salt, and the salt has actually even helped bring out the chili just a little bit more. So I'm just giving this another stir. Then we're going to add our rice. Now I mentioned I'm using one of my favorite rice here, And the rice I'm using is Royal Umbrella. Now, I just really love this rice because it's so nice and fluffy. When it cooks, it's nice and fluffy. And also, it doesn't require you to wash it as much because it doesn't have as much starch as other rice out there. So I just like using it a lot. And the type is jasmine rice. So I'm going to go ahead and add my Royal Umbrella jasmine rice into my pot. Now, you can definitely wash your rice if you're using the rice that has a bit more starch. You can definitely do that. Or sometimes it's always good to wash your rice just because the starch, you'll get less of the starch out and you'll end up with fluffier rice. But with this type of rice, like I've said, you don't have to. You can skip the washing process altogether and just add it directly and it will still be fluffy. So give this a nice stir. And then we're going to add some liquid, some water, but not too much because, again, remember I have added other liquids in here from the tomatoes. And then we're just going to cover this and let this cook slowly on a slow simmer. Whenever you're making rice, always make sure that it's simmering and not boiling. That's important. So once it comes to the boiling point, you want to make sure it's simmering. So I'm just adding some water. And then I'm just going to now cover this and let my rice cook gently. And I'm going to give it another taste just because I like tasting everything as I go. And I want to be sure that whatever taste I'm tasting is actually what my rice will actually taste like in the end. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. Give it another taste. Yes. Woo! The kick is still there. So we're going to go ahead and just cover this. And of course, I mentioned I had some herbs, so I will be finishing my dish here with some herbs. And I'm going to add a bit of some cucumber, just to give it a bit more of some color. With the cucumber, is actually just going to go on more of like a salad and not for much else. So you don't have to add it. I'm just adding it because I have it with me. So I'm going to go ahead and just slice it. And for this, I'm not doing anything fancy with it. I'm just going to slice it regular. Now, the reason I'm turning my board is because I cut sausages earlier and I want to cut my cucumber. So for our rice is going to be cooking for about 20 minutes until it's all the way done and all the way water has evaporated. I don't want it too dry though, so it's going to still have a bit of some water. It's going to be still wet. But if you definitely want your rice all the way dry, then obviously just cook it a bit longer. So for the cucumber, I'm just going to slice this. Again, like I've said, I'm not doing anything special with the cucumber. I'm just adding it in there just for a little bit of a different texture, for some green. So all I'm going to do is just slice it. So I'm just going to give some good thin slices. And then we're going to plate our rice with the cucumbers that I've just sliced. Now you could season this if you wanted to, but I love the taste of fresh cucumbers. It's just something about them that's so very light about it and fresh and healthy. You kind of just feel healthy just eating a cucumber and have one of those moments. And something else you could use your cucumber for is water. You could get a cucumber, slice it, and then just put like a liter of water, 500 ml of water in there, and that's it the next day in the fridge. And what will happen is that the next time you drink your water, it will have this nice, fresh, very refreshing taste from the cucumber. So that's something you could definitely try, and it doesn't require much. All it requires is just a cucumber, water, and of course a jug or a bottle, wherever it is you're going to put your water in, and put it in the fridge. And trust me, the flavors will come right through. So in the meantime, we're going to be waiting for our rice to cook. Remember, I've said I'm going to give my rice about 20 minutes or so to be fully cooked. So I'm going to now reduce the heat. Remember, I said it's important for your rice to be simmering and not boiling. So we're just going to cover this and let the rice simmer on very low heat. So we're going to let our rice simmer on very low heat. When we come back from the break, my rice should be cooked by then and we'll plate. So see you after the break. guys, welcome back to Dinner Guide. I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. If you're just tuning in, today we are making a spicy tomato and sausage rice. So it's very deep in flavor. And if you're just coming in during the break, we actually were waiting for our rice to cook all the way down. So we'll have a peep at it. Remember, I said it's going to be nice and a bit wet, not too dry. So we're going to have a peep. Ta-da! And our rice is looking nice and cooked. So this has been cooking for about 20 minutes. Now, like I said, you want your rice to be a bit wet for this because it's a spicy tomato rice. So it's inspired from Spanish kind of cooking, Mexican kind of cooking, as well as Louisiana. If you're familiar with something like the jambalaya kind of rice dish, which usually contains sausages, rice, capsicums, kind of like half done, but then now with the use of chicken as well as some shrimp. But I didn't go all out, I just decided to go with one meat. So that's where this rice takes the concept from. So we're just going to give this a taste. So like I said, the spiciness, woo, it's a good kick. And if you're not too much into spice, then you definitely want to dial down on it. But it's a really nice kick. It leaves a nice tingly feeling in your mouth. I remember when I said earlier on, the ginger, you'll feel it right at your throat. You can definitely feel like the burning. So our food is ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and plate this. So and if you're just tuning in, today we're making a beautiful tomato rice dish. We can get rid of the bay leaf. Remember, I used some bay leaf here. So we can just get rid of this. And now this is actually inspired, like I've said, from kind of like Mexican cooking, Spanish cooking, Louisiana kind of cooking. Just my whole take on it. So we're just going to finish plating our rice. So we added some sausages just for the depth in flavor. So I'm going to put this on top just so that you can see them. And just so that they're not lost. And then we're going to finish off with the cucumbers. Remember, I chopped some cucumbers earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and just use those. Just so that they're not getting lost. So our rice is nice and colorful. Remember, I added different kind of capsicums in here just to give some more flavor. And I mentioned I wanted to leave some of my capsicums chopped just so you could see them. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my cucumber. Now you don't have to use the cucumbers I mentioned because I had cucumbers. I'm going to use them, and just because I wanted to get my food a bit more green, just to give it a bit more of some color. That's the only reason I'm actually using it. Otherwise, you don't really have to use it. So that's your spicy rice dish. So I'm going to get my herbs. Remember, I mentioned earlier, if you're just tuning in, by the beginning I mentioned I had some herbs. And the herbs I have here are some dhania and some parsley. So I'm just going to combine both of them and then just chop and sprinkle them on top. Now you could just use either or, one of the two, or use a completely different herb if you want to. But just because I'm trying to keep to that whole concept, like I said, the whole Mexican kind of like Spanish kind of like cuisine. So that's why I'm using dhania. But because I like parsley, I'm throwing in some parsley in there as well. So I'm just giving this a nice fine chop. So this is a really simple dish that you could make at home with your family. Get your kids involved because all the cooking time is taking place inside the pot. Once you're done with the chopping and the blending, there's not much else to do. You just leave it to do its own thing and be patient. So just sprinkle a bit of your herbs on top. And voila, your beautiful dish. So that's it, guys. That was our spicy tomato and sausage dish for you. I hope you enjoyed watching me cook. I know I did. I had a good time, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we're together and we make another exciting, delicious meal for your tummy. So I've been your host and chef, Sheena Amario. It's been a pleasure being with you. I hope to see you guys on Brand Plus TV. Follow us on Brand Plus TV, social media, Facebook, and we can interact some more. But until then, see you then. This has been Dinner Guide, and see you then. Bye.